Alright, you Porsche fans. So it's another slow day. No new models have come in the mail yet, so I thought I'd review one of the models I picked up here locally. Yeah, I just haven't reviewed it. So this is the Porsche 911 GT1 from 1996. It's the very first of the GT1s. This was developed by Porsche specifically to go racing. They still ended up selling a few road car variations, but initially the actual design was to go racing, not to sell. It wasn't to sell a road car and then go racing. It was meant to go racing and then you had to sell road cars to do it. Hopefully that difference is understandable. Being a 1996 version of this thing, it only shares the headlamps with the Porsche 993 and also the tail lamps in the Porsche 993. But everything else, appearance-wise, is totally different. It did actually share the chassis on the front end of the 993, but then the rear end was derived from the 962, which is again another totally dedicated race car, like a Le Mans prototype racer. And the engine powering this also came, or was also derived from that 962. It's a twin turbocharged 3.2 liter flat six, and it's rear wheel drive, making around 600 horsepower. So this thing debuted in the BPR Global GT series, which later on became the FIA's GT1 class of cars. So having had this model in my collection a while, it's one of those beads collection things. So it comes in the crystal case and should have better detail than your typical blister. Okay, so I couldn't find any pictures of this Warsteiner. I think Warsteiner is a beer. I could be wrong. But I couldn't find any pictures of it. So, and also I couldn't find many pictures of cars with actual fog lamps down here on the side. So this is the only one I was able to find, the one with this particular livery. So let's compare it to this. That was pretty hard to compare with such a crazy paint job on the real car. But yeah, it's got the fog lights, I guess. And then mesh wheels, these weird mirrors, the top vent. So yeah, actually that looks pretty good. And then the rear view of that car, I believe, is at the Stuttgart Museum. And then you can clearly see these taillights look like they would be from a 993. Although this is an additional piece, I think. The regular car would just have this red touching against that red, but to widen the thing out, they added these vents and stuff. And so I think Kyosho did a pretty good job there as well. Okay. Alright, so that's it for comparison photos. I gotta be careful. This thing's got a tiny antenna on it. It's one of those little details you get from the crystal case Kyosho's. So yeah, look at that antenna in front of my finger. It's really small. I don't know if it's plastic. I think it's metal. It doesn't want to flex much. It's too strong. I think it's made of metal. So the wheels here, most Kyosho blisters don't have disc brakes, but this one has a rotor back there, but no caliper. The rear, yeah, I'm not sure if I see a caliper there. I kind of feel like I do right there. But the front, it's weird. I don't see a caliper on the front. And oh no, I do. It's just silver. The front caliper is actually on the front edge here. So hold on. Let me really get in here. See? Alright, so there is a brake caliper there. It's just everything's silver, so it's hard to distinguish. If it was painted red or something, it'd be much nicer. But anyways, the tires look good. There's some curvature to the sidewalls. They're staggered in height difference and also width difference. Racing slicks here. This thing, unfortunately, is riveted together. So you can't modify it or take it apart or anything like that if something's messed up. So this is 96 GT1. Nice veins there, some minor details. Okay, so the door handle does stick out. And then this printing here, I don't know if this... Yeah, I think that's tampo printed. I don't see any of the wrinkliness of a decal, so... Same with here. There's no wrinkliness, so these are tampo prints, so that's good. So you'll see this is, 993 headlights. later on in 1997, I guess, they switched over to the new 996 headlights, the more kidney bean styled ones. So this must be the very first one. Perhaps it's the prototype. Um, Unfortunately, the little turn signal things here, these are just printed on, no additional plastic. But it is nice to see the additional plastic there on those fog lamps. There's a little mesh texture here for the, I guess it must be a radiator there, right? And then it feeds out from here, and let's see if I can focus on there. It's pretty far in. It's hard to tell because it's all black, but you'll see my dental bit goes pretty far in there. So those are dimensional for sure. This is supposed to be a little vent, and it's actually a different color. That's interesting. You would think that would be black, right, if there's air going in there. Anyways, so yeah, the printing here is really nice. I'm not sure what these two circles would be. They're hood releases? You'll notice here the wiper blades. These are actually photo etched metal pieces. They're not typical molded in wipers like on the blisters. So these are separate pieces of metal, and they're arranged in a way where they actually look kind of perpendicular. But it's weird. It's like the whole blade and the arm are perpendicular. You know, I've seen other resin models where the arm is parallel to the wiper, parallel to the windshield, and then only the wiper blade is bent 90 degrees perpendicular to the windshield. So it could have been better, but I guess it's better than molded in wiper blades. Alright. So this side, okay, little tiny aqueduct there. Black paint in there, which would make sense. That's probably open on the real car. Top view. Is this? No, there's actually a little depth to this thing as well. Look. So that's pretty cool. It could have easily been blanked off, but it's actually three-dimensional, that roof vent. I'm imagining that forces air into the engine. Okay, so this wing, look how thin this thing is. Is that metal? No, it's not. It's plastic, but it's really thin. Sorry, my camera. No, can't. Right? It actually tapers off like a real wing. It's thicker here, and then it tapers off to a fine edge. So that's a pretty nice wing, actually. Look at the bottom. The bottom of the wing does curve like an actual airfoil. So that's a functional wing. Whereas the flatness of the top curved at the bottom, that would actually make sense. Okay, so these taillights. You know, it's weird that it doesn't actually say Porsche. Although, actually, the real photo doesn't either, so I guess that's accurate. There's a little crosshatch pattern molded into the backside of this red plastic. Hopefully the camera can pick it up. But it actually looks like a reflector, because it's got the... There you go. You can see like some sort of squarish pattern, and I believe that's on the backside of this. So then you can also see some silver, or the backup lights there. And those vents there. Interesting. Okay. The little tiny exhaust tips, they are three-dimensional. And on the real car, they're just raw steel, so they're kind of dark on the real car. So I can understand why Kyosho didn't paint those silver, because they're not really reflective on the real car anyways. So I think that's pretty accurate. Unfortunately, yeah, some extra plastic there. It's too bad. Okay, well, oh, the mirrors, the side mirrors. There's a little silver paint there, so that's something you don't get on usual blister Kyoshos. So it's definitely more detail going on this than I'm used to. You know, the majority of my Kyoshos are those blister pack ones. But this one, it seems to have paint on the mirrors, photo etched metal wiper blades, and then this tiny metal antenna those are the three things that you wouldn't find on a regular blister. Okay. Now what about the interior? It's gonna be hard to tell because this is black molded plastic. There's a shifter. There's no passenger seat. Steering wheel. There's a blank dashboard. So that's something I would like to see Kyosho do, is maybe have a decal or print some silver gauges in there. That would be the one thing that's missing that keeps these guys from being as good as Inno64 or Tarmac Works. Those two brands would have added some color to the inside of this thing. You know, there'd be seat belts, either most likely a decal of some seat belts, but this doesn't have it. It's got all the molded detail, just none of the color. So that's too bad. Okay, well, anyways, I'm still happy I have this. I don't think there's any paint rash. This thing, though, it's a stain of some sort. I think I can probably Q-tip that off. But I'm not noticing any bubbling or scratches before it was painted, so that's a nice thing. A better QC or something. And then this printing of all this black in the sponsorship is really well done. I'm not noticing any of the graphics are missing letters or overrunning or anything like that, so I guess it's definitely worth the extra price to get a Kyosho from a crystal case, at least in this particular casting. Okay, I would imagine they may have had other castings with that red, white, and blue livery that I showed earlier, but I'm not 100% sure. So anyways, let's give this thing one last spin before it vanishes into my cabinet forever. So I'm not sure what's going on here. There are a lot of photos of this one. Maybe this won some races. In fact, actually, over the series of these whole GT1 911s, they were entered in 135 races, and then they won 47 of them. That's a pretty good, pretty good ratio, I think. Okay, well anyways, if you like Porsches, if you like racing cars, this is my little rewind of some of my collection, and hopefully this will help you make a decision as to whether or not you want to get one for yourself. Okay, well thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.